station of HBO Sports.
Hard left hand by Ruiz. Here's his opportunity. Big left hook by Toney. And the right hand. And the bell saves Giraffe.
John Ruiz and James Toney, two major players in the muddled heavyweight division. Critics may hammer current belt holder John Ruiz for his awkward style, but they certainly can't argue with his success.
Oh, good shot. A big left hand by Ruiz. Give it to Ruiz. He's bleeding. He's fighting. He's not giving up.
Since his loss to Roy Jones 2 years ago, he's beaten Hasim Rahman, Professor Kendo, and Andrew Galata. But does Ruiz have the momentum to claim the heavyweight throne? In the early 90s, James Toney was considered pound for pound one of the best fighters in the middleweight divisions. In 2003, Toney returned as a cruiserweight, beating Vasily Giraffe in the fight of the year.
Oh, my God. Huge left hand by Giraffe. Toney. That's it. That's it. Got it. It's down.
And James Toney has resurrected his career. 6 months later, as a heavyweight, he knocked out former champion Evander Holyfield. In a division without a clear champion, tonight's fight could bring some clarity to the heavyweight landscape.
What an awesome show. What a great, great fight.
World Championship Boxing is live in high definition. We're coming to you from New York's city's Madison Square Garden with a special night of boxing. One fight between John Ruiz and James Toney for the heavyweight title belt held by Ruiz. 5 months ago, John Ruiz defeated Andrew Galata in this very building. Maybe more of you will remember trainer Norman Stone's outbursts, which led to his ejection from the corner. Stone has guaranteed he'll be vocal again tonight. So we'll wait and see if that affects John Ruiz positively or negatively. And James Toney is known as an instigator. We'll follow that subplot too, but more importantly, can Toney win a title belt in a fourth division? If so, he joins Roy Jones as 2 of 3 men, the other is Bob Fitzsimmons, to win title belts at middleweight and then later at heavyweight. Hello again, everybody. I'm Jim Lampley. We welcome you to this special edition of World Championship Boxing in Madison Square Garden. Very shortly, you'll be hearing from my broadcast colleagues Larry Merchant and Roy Jones. But first, we're going to give you an up-to-date look at the transitional state of the heavyweight division. That'll be followed by a live panel discussion with a fighter, a writer, and a promoter about the circumstances of the division. Then you'll see an interview that Larry conducted a while ago with James Toney, all of that in preparation for the title fight, which will be held in the ring. Let's start by looking at what we habitually call the muddled picture in a division where competition is defined by 4 existing title belts, and those belts, frustratingly, maddeningly for boxing fans, are currently held by 4 different fighters. Take a look. Tonight's belt holder is the first to be tested.
John Ruiz, WBA heavyweight champion.
Ruiz is battle-hardened with wins over Evander Holyfield, Hasim Rahman, and Andrew Galata. His style, however unappealing, has proven effective. And James Toney has resurrected his career.
James Toney.
2003 was a turning point for the one-time middleweight king. First up, his stirring victory over cruiserweight champion Vasily Giraffe. Next, a move to heavyweight and a complete dismantling of Evander Holyfield. Those wins vaulted James Toney into tonight's title shot. He is the decided underdog among this group.
Lyman Brewster, WBO heavyweight champion.
Brewster was nearly relegated to journeyman status before his shocking upset knockout of Vladimir Klitschko for the fringe WBO belt a year ago. And Lyman Brewster gets the win of a lifetime. His first defense was a close victory over Cali Meehan last November. Next up for Brewster,
Andrew Galata.
Galata rose to infamy nearly a decade ago after 2 disqualification losses to Riddick Bowe.
That's
Talented but enigmatic, Golada's career appeared over after a loss to Lennox Lewis and a no contest with Mike Tyson. Inactive for 3 years, he revived himself with a draw against Byrd and a narrow loss to John Ruiz last November.
I'm Vitaly Klitschko.
Vitaly Klitschko is roughing Lennox Lewis up.
The 6'7" Klitschko's popularity soared after his heroic but losing effort against then-champion Lennox Lewis in 2003. He rebounded with a title-winning victory over Corey Sanders last year and was last seen demolishing Danny Williams in impressive fashion last December. Klitschko recently underwent minor back surgery, postponing until the fall his date with Hasim Rahman.
Hasim the Rock Rahman.
Rahman shocked the boxing world with his knockout of Lennox Lewis in 2001.
What a story as Hasim Rahman becomes the heavyweight champion of the world.
Rahman's reign as champion was brief. 7 months later, he was knocked out in the rematch, and in 2002, lost a bizarre fight to Evander Holyfield. Since having lost a decision to Ruiz in 2003, he's won 5 straight fights. Assuming Rahman does face Klitschko in September, that would leave one heavyweight title belt holder without a scheduled match.
Byrd, IBF heavyweight champion.
Byrd handed Vitaly Klitschko his first defeat by retirement with injury in 2000 in Germany. Then won his title with a dominant performance over Evander Holyfield in 2002. He's defended his belt 3 times, including a draw with Andrew Golada and a slim victory over Jameel McCline last November. Byrd has no fight scheduled in the immediate future. And now we bring you back live in Madison Square Garden, where we're going to discuss the circumstances of the division with 3 men who know it inside out. Starting with the man next to me, the now retired former kingpin of the division, the last man to really claim it as his own, former heavyweight champion Lennox Lewis. He had his last fight in summer of 2003 and retired from the sport toward the end of that year. Next to Lennox, Steve Springer, longtime boxing writer of the Los Angeles Times, author of 5 different books, 2 of which are in the marketplace right now. And next to Steve Springer, probably the most famous promoter in the history of boxing in the United States, and the man who currently promotes 3 of the 4 heavyweight belt holders, Don King. Don, let's start with the last man whose picture appeared in the setup piece, Byrd. Within the past year, and despite the fact that Byrd is acknowledged by many as the most accomplished American heavyweight, longest reigning of the title holders, within the past year, you had to ask him to fight for less than his contractual guarantee. You had to ask him to go to Germany to fight Vladimir Klitschko, and he doesn't have a contracted defense right now. Is it impossible, Don, to steer a fighter with limited market appeal to the center of the heavyweight division, no matter how good he is?
It is very difficult, and it's even more difficult when the fighter don't talk to his promoter. This is the first time I've talked to him today. Had a very fruitful conversation this morning. Gorbachev, tear down that wall. So the wall came down today, and we had a chance to talk. We'll see what the future brings.
All right, Steve Springer, what do you think American boxing writers think it will take to clear up this situation and redefine the division in a way that fans like it?
Well, the obvious is that the guys have to fight each other. Nobody is going to emerge as the undisputed champion, as the recognized champion, until he beats some of the others. Right now, we've got actually the guy next to me is probably better recognized as a heavyweight champion than any of the 4. Vitaly Klitschko appeared to have some momentum after he lost to Lennox, of all things, but he didn't capitalize on it, and now you're back into
What do you mean he didn't capitalize on it? He's had 3 fights. He's won all of them by knockout, and he's the only one of the existing title holders with spectacular knockout wins in the last 2 years.
But he's fought people that nobody regards. Again, he's not fighting the other champions. He's fighting people that nobody has any regard for, and now he's injured, and he's lost even more momentum. So unless these guys fight each other, and I don't know Don and the other promoters would like to see that happen, nothing is going to happen in the heavyweight division.
Lennox, one of Don's title holders, John Ruiz, has been very open in clamoring for a tournament. The problem is Don controls 3 of the title holders, and Vitaly Klitschko is promoted by somebody else. If you were in Vitaly's position, would you enter a tournament with Don's 3 title holders?
Absolutely. Right now.
You would?
Yeah, because, you know, the heavyweight scene is open right now, and the people are clamoring and trying to wonder who's the next champion out there. And they can't really see anybody. If Vitaly Klitschko or Vladimir Klitschko doesn't box anybody, you know, you can't get the respect. Boxing B-class opponents don't really give the respect for the public out there.
So who is anybody? one of those 3 title holders?
Definitely one of those 3 title holders.
Don, you've made your business partially by claiming options on fighters who wanted to fight the guys you promote. Would you let Vitaly Klitschko into a Don King-controlled heavyweight tournament without getting options on his services for the future?
Fight Vitaly Klitschko without any option because, in my opinion, Vitaly Klitschko can't fight. He's been fighting guys. His biggest win was his loss against Lennox Lewis on his worst night. On the worst night I've ever seen Lennox ever perform, he beats Vitaly Klitschko, and they try to make losing winning. You can't make losing winning, and if you really want the sport to grow, Vitaly Klitschko should jump through a hoop to get into the tournament to do it, because he got to beat Hasim Rahman right now, the #1 contender.
Have you offered Vitaly Klitschko a chance to fight your title holders without claiming options on his services?
Absolutely. Didn't want anything from him. In fact, he asked me to get a return match clause with Hasim Rahman. You know what I mean? And he's the champion, and they know if you're mandatory, there is no options. He gave me an option because he wanted to have a return match in the event that he lose, which he will.
Steve, Rahman is a former champion. Klitschko has his following as the result of what he did against Lennox. If Rahman fought Klitschko later this year, it was a good quality fight. Would the winner be seen as the champion of the division?
Well, the winner would certainly gain a big step up, but again, he's got to beat these other champions. A winner of Klitschko-Rahman would be regarded as a bona fide champion, but not the champion until he wraps up in all the other divisions. And again, someone like the stature of Lennox isn't out there right now. Klitschko, that would be a great first step, but I think he's got to keep going. I'm talking about Vitaly Klitschko.
He mentions your stature, Lennox, and I think your physical stature is a factor here, because when you at Riddick Bowe rose to the forefront about 12 years ago, there's a perception that you changed the size parameters in the heavyweight division, that the new qualifying weight is about 240 or more, and most American quality athletes that size are already playing basketball and football. Do fighters from foreign countries believe this is no longer an American franchise?
Absolutely. It's a world sport. I wouldn't say American boxers dominate the sport. It's definitely open to the rest of the world, as we can see, 2 boxers from Germany, and I'm sure there's others around the world that really want to prove themselves.
Could Americans fall in love with a Klitschko or Andrew Galatas from Poland or Sam Peter from Nigeria in the same way that they've fallen in love with American heavyweight champions in the past, Don?
Performance. People come to see performance. They don't come to see where he come from or how he come. They want to see performance. Lennox Lewis was from London, from England. He came back via Jamaica, and they fell in love with him because he beat everybody that he fought. You can't do it unless you fight and win.
It took a long time for them to, quote, fall in love with him, and just winning, Lennox, isn't enough, is it?
It isn't enough. You really have to be busy in front of the TV so people can really appreciate you and see how good you are. I mean, for me, it was very hard because, people would say, well, I just want to, I'm not going with Lewis. I'm going with the American fighter. And I'm saying, it's okay to be patriotic, but go with a boxer who you think, shows that he's a great fighter. This is myself.
Steve, a lot of people are excited about James Toney tonight because they think that if he can rid the division of John Ruiz's clinching, grabbing style, he's a more entertaining fighter. He might bring some pizzazz to the division. But Toney's a former middleweight who looks like a bowling ball in there. Is he here to bring greater credibility or greater disturbance to the heavyweight division if he wins?
Well, I think he'll bring some disturbance, but at least loud disturbance. At least people will pay attention. People don't want to see wrestling, and that's what all John Ruiz brings to the ring. That they're tired of that. It's not a good show. It's ugly boxing. At least if Toney wins, he will make a case for himself loud and long until he runs into a bigger fighter, but at least it'll be exciting. At least there'll be a challenge.
Don, you've been unabashed in the past in saying that race is a factor. You have said about white fighters, they have the complexion to create affection. Is it a factor with an Andrew Galata or a Klitschko, just as it is with American white fighters, or is it no longer a factor when you're talking about a foreign guy?
It's always a factor, but the fact of the matter is when people see performance, it doesn't matter. The boxing crowd goes with whoever they want. They may come in the house rooting for one guy, and he be the champion and their favorite, and if the other guy begins to pell-mell him all around the ring, they change over to the guy that's there. You win by your skill, your talent, and your ability.
And your style. Isn't it at least as much about style as success?
Styles always play a major part in boxing, you know what I mean? And the guy who knows how to think and how to outwit the guy with his style, that guy becomes a champion. But they must fight each other, getting right back to what Steve said. And you can't leave anyone out and discriminate. You must beat every one of these guys to become the undisputed champion of the world by your talent and ability, and that people will relate and identify with you, and they will herald you as the champion.
Steve, the young Nigerian Sam Peter scored another knockout, third-round knockout Friday night. He continues to rise as apparently the hottest young fighter in the division. Could Americans fall in love with a Nigerian heavyweight champion?
Absolutely. If he has the style, if he's exciting, if he knocks people out, you know, Roberto Duran wasn't an American. People fell in love with him because he was exciting. He was knocking people out. He was wild. That's what people want. They want style. They want knockouts. They want guys who will take on anybody. They don't really care about the nationality, just like they don't care that much about the WBA, the WBC, or any of the other alphabets anymore.
Don, in 20 seconds or less, where's it all going to lead?
It's going to lead to one undisputed champion, and I'm willing to put every one of these guys in there to fight each other. And by the way, Chavez was not American, but they fell in love with Chavez, so he was a great fighter. So right now, we want them guys to fight each other, and we want to get it done as quickly as we possibly can. One undisputed champion. The public deserves that.
And the public wants it badly. Gentlemen, thank you all for your time and your insight on the heavyweight division. Right now, let's go to ringside and hear what Larry Merchant and Roy Jones have to say to further this discussion.
Thank you very much, Jim. You know, all this can be settled very easily without any tournaments. All you have to do is wait for the outcome of the Vitaly Klitschko-Rahman fight and put him against Chris Byrd. The winner of those three guys will emerge as the recognized champion. I would remind you that Don King preferred to put Byrd in with Vladimir Klitschko, who had previously beaten him, where Byrd had a decision over Vitaly Klitschko. So the urgency to pit champions against each other wasn't quite there at the time. In any event, I look at the heavyweight division like a forest fire that has burned down the big trees and given the little shrubs a chance to grow. People prefer the little guys today. The big featherweight fights recently have drawn 2 and 3 times the number of pay-per-view buys as recent heavyweight fights. Bring me not giants right now. Bring me featherweights. Roy, what is your take on the heavyweight picture?
Heavyweight picture is one that definitely needs to be cleared up, but I also feel that if James Toney can get in shape, get past Ruiz tonight, he definitely, in my opinion, be one of the better heavyweight champions out there today because of his quick hand speed, his style, his ability to take a punch and give a punch. I personally think he should have gone to the heavyweight division back in 1994 after me and him fought. So I think he will definitely change this picture a little bit.
2 guys you beat are in the ring tonight. Any regrets that you're not a heavyweight today?
No regrets at all. I enjoyed what I did, but that wasn't where I really wanted to make my living. I just wanted to go up and get in the history books and do what I do and come back to where I am. I didn't really feel comfortable being a heavyweight. It's just something I always wanted, that if I got an opportunity, I would take the opportunity and seize that event. And I did that, and I'm cool with it.
Let's turn to the fight tonight now. These 2 fighters you know intimately. How do you see the fight?
Well, my thing is, they say John Ruiz wants to fight outside. If John tries to fight James outside, I really don't think it will change the outcome of the fight. James doesn't look in shape, but if James is in shape, he definitely should win the fight. He has the quicker hands, he's hard for a middleweight even to hit, and he's just got the experience to me. John has a very difficult tactical way of fighting. People don't like it, and I think he might try to change for people. And if he does, it's not going to be the best because his best fight is that ugly fight.
Ugly, ugly, ugly. Ugly is as ugly we will see. Now let's turn to James Toney, who calls himself Lights Out. What he's trying to do tonight is to turn the lights on to the heavyweight division. And earlier this week at a press conference, he sort of pulled a switch. In his typical confrontational style, Toney confronted everyone on the dais whose name wasn't James Toney. But there are other sides to James Toney, just as there are to all fighters. And we saw that other side of James Toney in a recent interview we did with him. At 5'9", you'd be the shortest heavyweight champion in 100 years.
Right.
Can you fight these giants?
These giant heavyweights of today are not the giants heavyweights of yesterday. What I mean by giant of yesterday, skill, heart, passion. I'm an old school fighter. I like to fight. These guys, they don't want to fight. They're lacking the heart. They're lacking the desire. So I'm going to go in there and clean them up. let them know what real fighting is all about. Just like Ezra Childs, the great small heavyweights yesterday, they all have skills and heart and determination. That's all that matters.
James Toney once admitted he hadn't done road work for years, but as a prospective heavyweight, he overworked himself with weight training, and his body rebelled. You suffered 2 injuries.
Yeah.
One in preparation for a heavyweight fight, another one in a heavyweight fight.
Right.
Was that the result of trying to do too much too soon?
Yeah, basically I was just doing a little bit too much, too soon, too fast. It caught up to me. I say right now, it hasn't affected me too much because the only thing that's affected me is my time outside the ring. I'm on a crash course to make up for the lost time.
Can you train full time and with real seriousness after those injuries for this biggest of your heavyweight fights?
Oh, I have. You know, I'm doing everything I've done and a little bit more.
But 3 weeks before the fight, there was a lot more of Toney than his target weight of 220 pounds. A whole lot more.
Nobody knows what James Toney really does. I train every day. I train 14 days on, 1 day off.
Straight right hand landed for Jones. Ruiz tried to attack. Roy got away.
You and Roy Jones have obviously very different styles.
Yeah.
Is there anything you can take from his fight with Ruiz and adapt to your own?
The way I'm gonna beat Ruiz is the way every fight should go out and do it. Knock him out, beat him down. I'm not gonna run around the ring. I'm not gonna shake my ass. I'm gonna do it that way.
John Ruiz, in his last fight, 16 clinches around.
I know you counted the fool.
Can you deal with a big guy who's heavier than you, taller than you, hanging on to you all night?
You know, whatever John Ruiz do is not gonna be enough. See, like I said, I'm an ultimate fighter. I can fight any situation. If he try to clinch with me, that's my style. I'm an inside fighter. I'll eat him up all day. That's just me.
Speaking of you, I want to play a little word association game with you. Madison Square Garden.
Oh, the greatest building in the world, man. It's a place where I always dreamed of being. There's the Childs, Judge Joe Walker, all the great fighters that fought there. Ray Robinson, Roberto Duran, everybody. So now it's just my time to get in the ring, get in Madison Square Garden. It's a big thrill for me.
Bling.
I got it on right here. It's just to represent me. You know me all these years. I've always had a lot of ice on me, earrings, whatever, chains. It's not just a woman's best friend, it's a man's best friend too.
Trash talking.
I'm the king of it. Bottom line, I'm the best at it. I'm the best of all time. Don't be a girl, boy. You just be doing. I got like a little sissy lady hugging on and winning fights by struggling. I'm talking. I talk when I sleep. Oh.
Despite questions about Toney's size, age, injuries, and condition, he was installed at nearly a 2-to-1 favorite over Ruiz. Tonight, we'll find out whether that's a commentary on Toney, Ruiz, or the heavyweight division in general. You're not going to be just satisfied with winning one little title.
No, I'm not in it just for Ruiz. I'm in this for everybody. Klitschko, Byrd, Brewster. I want all of them. I'm a small guy. I got a big chip on my shoulder, and I want one of these guys to come try to knock it off. Everybody who you say I can't beat, I want to fight them.
James Toney says if John Ruiz wants to fight inside, he'll eat him up all day. Eating things up all day is part of the issue here. At 230, Larry, I don't think he's maximizing his chances.
But the interesting thing, Jim, is that virtually the entire prize fight establishment is rooting for James Toney to win tonight, both to add himself to the mix and to subtract Ruiz because of his crowd-unfriendly style.
Ruiz knows that, Roy. He knows the world is rooting for James Toney to beat him. Is that a psychological negative or a plus for John Ruiz?
It should be a plus for John Ruiz, you know? It should be a plus because he gets the chance to shock the world.
And there's a look at the recent accomplishments of James Toney. There was, of course, one fight after the Holyfield fight against a heavyweight journeyman named Rydell Booker. In that fight, Toney tore both the biceps tendon and the forearm tendon, or the forearm muscle, in his left jabbing arm. Surgically repaired. He says he's just as good as ever now. Referee Steve Smoger in the shot there. And of course, in any fight involving John Ruiz, the referee becomes a figure of note because the question is, how aggressive will he be in breaking up Ruiz's clinches? Just before the fight tonight, referee Steve Smoger and New York State Athletic Commission Executive Director Ron Scott Stevens went to John Ruiz's dressing room and asked him to shave his beard. This despite the fact that they didn't ask him to shave the same beard 2 days ago at the weigh-in. His obstreperous manager-trainer Norman Stone said, I'm not going to do it now. He'll have irritated skin. And Larry Merchant, the commission backed off.
Well, it was late, but it does appear to be as much of a beard as I've ever seen on a fighter. I don't know that it will cushion his chin, Roy. What do you think?
I don't think it'll bother anything. I think they're worried about more for when he's inside in the clinches, the beard maybe causing a cut or rubbing it into the face of the other fighter. That's usually what a beard's main effect is in a fight.
Did you and your trainer, Alton Murkerson, consider asking him to shave the beard before you fought him?
No, I didn't. I didn't want no excuses. Keep your beard. I'll keep it off me myself.
All right. Well, we'll see who needs excuses tonight between John Ruiz and James Toney. Let's look at the tail of the tape. And you will see that Toney, at 36 years old, is giving up 3 years in age to the younger Ruiz. Ruiz, 5-inch height advantage, a 3.5-inch arm length advantage measured from the armpit to the end of the fist for James Toney. If that measurement becomes reach, the wingspan from fist to fist, Ruiz is longer. That's because his chest is so much bigger than JT's. Weight, 241 for Ruiz. He had clothes on, probably really weighed 237 to 238. 233 for Toney, again with clothes on, probably around 230. Rules of the bout with our unofficial ringside scorer, Harold Letterman.
The John Ruiz-James Toney fight is scheduled for 12 rounds using the Unified Rules of the Association of Boxing Commissions. There is no 3 knockdown rule. The doctor or the referee can stop the fight. In case the cut is caused by an accidental headbutt, we go to the scorecards after 4 rounds have been completed, and you cannot be saved by the bell in any round, including the 12th and final round. Jim.
All right, thank you very much, Harold. Now let's go to ring announcer Michael Buffer for the official introduction.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the most famous arena in the world, Madison Square Garden, New York City, New York, USA, Don King Productions is proud to present 12 rounds of boxing for the WBA Heavyweight Championship of the World. Brought to you in association with Goose and Tudor Promotions and the Tito Trinidad versus Winky Wright May 14th pay-per-view middleweight super bout. Tonight's heavyweight contest is dedicated to the memory of New York City's greatest heroes, the men and women of the EMS, the police department, and firefighters of New York City who made the ultimate sacrifice on 9/11. And in the audience tonight, as special guest of Don King, a round of applause for the family members of those who gave their lives on 9/11. This bout is sanctioned by the New York State Athletic Commission, Chairman Ron Scott Stevens, and the World Boxing Association, President Gilberto Mendoza. The 3 judges at ringside scoring this contest are Don Ackerman, Guy Jutra, and Tom Schreck. And when the bell rings, your referee in charge of the action, Steve Smoger. And now with dedication to the men and women now serving in harm's way as members of the armed forces of the United States of America, ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble! Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing the green trunks, official weight 233 pounds, professional record 68 victories, including 43 knockouts, with 4 defeats and 2 bouts even. From Ann Arbor, Michigan, now training and fighting out of Los Angeles, California, introducing the WBA #1 ranked heavyweight challenger in the world, the 3-time world champion, James Lights Out Toney. And his opponent across the ring, fighting out of the red corner, wearing black, official weight 241 pounds. Professional record 41 victories with 5 defeats and 1 draw, and he has scored 28 knockouts. Presenting the Puerto Riqueño pride of Chelsea, Massachusetts, the 2-time heavyweight world champion, the reigning, defending WBA heavyweight champion of the world, John, the Quiet Man, Ruiz.
That's it, baby. You told me to get over here, and I get over there, whatever you want. Gentlemen, you were giving you instructions to weigh in. Stoney, please.
Two guys, Steve. One.
Okay, one guy go back. One guy go back. One guy go back. You were giving you instructions to weigh in. Please obey my commands. Respect the bell, and above all, protect yourself at all times. God bless you both. Touch gloves. Touch them up. Very good. Thank you, baby.
Is this fight going to inspire fans to want to see more of the many recycled heavyweights out there, or the exciting featherweights?
Round 1 begins. John Ruiz goes forward behind the jab. James Toney slips it. And you're going to see that throughout the evening as one of Toney's greatest abilities, Roy Jones, is to duck, slip, and avoid punches with his head.
Right. He have to make an adjustment to Ruiz's jab first, but once he makes this adjustment, I'm interested to see can Ruiz take James Toney's punch.
Ruiz over the top with the right hand, glanced off the back of Toney's head. Tony pounds a hard right hand to John Ruiz's rib cage, and he himself has said, I'm going to get underneath John, I'm going to get to his body, and I'm going to dominate the fight inside that way. Ruiz bangs the left hand off of James Toney's shoulder. John Ruiz, for his part, says tonight's the night when you're going to see him let his hands go, throw combinations, and land punches in sequence, rather than one punch at a time followed by a clinch. So he throws one punch, he clinches, and Toney steps out of the clinch and whacks him with a quick left hook.
A quick double hook. And that's what I meant when I said James' hand speed is much greater than John Ruiz.
2 left hooks by Ruiz, knocked Toney into the ropes.
Ruiz is trying to create distance between him and Toney.
John Ruiz almost seems a little too relaxed outside there with Toney's hand speed. That's bothering me a little bit. I think Toney will catch him with a straight right hand soon because he's not out there where he used to be in there. He used to be in close in the pinches like that.
Larry talks about how Ruiz is creating distance against James Toney. My sense of Ruiz, Roy, is that he doesn't like to fight outside. He doesn't really like to fight way inside. He likes to fight somewhere in the middle, and he lands a left to the body and tries to get a right hand upstairs.
And Toney landed a clean right hand in the middle of that exchange. Didn't have any effect, seemingly.
Yeah, but you know, Toney is a late round fighter. He's not looking to have much effect right away. I don't think he ever really was a one-punch knockout guy early. He usually gets the job done with an accumulation, takes his time, play the mongoose role, let the guy wear himself down, then he lands the big shot.
Can he be a late round fighter tonight with that body?
Oh yeah, this is what he do.
Because he doesn't really move his feet a lot, right?
No, he doesn't. And John's not making him move his feet a lot either.
Hard jab by Ruiz.
That's a right hand by Toney, actually.
And there's another right hand and a left over the top by Toney. James Toney is so quick at countering inside that by the time I call a Ruiz punch, James has already landed the counter.
Step back, step back, step back. Down.
Round 1 saw some action on both sides. As we go to Ruiz's corner, we remind any of you who have not watched John Ruiz a great deal before that the language in this corner may conceivably be more profane than you're most accustomed to.
Come on, baby, get the work.
Not if you're watching Deadwood.
He's trying to counter. He's going to try to counter punch you with everything. All night. All right? Double jab right here. Stay to the right.
All right? You land a couple jabs, then you feign one and go over the top of the right hand. Beautiful. Yeah. Every chance you get, whack that body. Touch the body. Keep touching them, right? Deep breath. Yeah, boy. There's one in the bank right there. Okay? Good job. One round in the bank right there. I know.
Toney's plan is to work Ruiz's body through the first 3 or 4 rounds.
CompuBox numbers in round 1. John Ruiz 9 out of 36. 24 of them were jabs, and he landed 7 of those. James Toney 13 out of 44. 11 of Toney's connects were power punches. Hard left hand up top by Toney.
Let him out, let him out, let him out.
I don't think Toney really landed a lot of body shots in that first round. He did land some effective ones, but I don't think he's really trying to work his body too hard in the first round. He wants to let Ruiz know that he has to be respected like that.
Hard right hand upstairs as Toney brings it over the top, and John Ruiz grabs him, holds him, pops him twice with the right hand. Toney pops him back. I asked James Toney yesterday, Roy, I said, if there were no referee in the ring and Ruiz repeatedly clinched and held you, what would be your remedy? He said, I'd throw him over the top rope into the stand.
And he would. That's his fight. That's why I told him this is tailor-made for James. James loves the inside brawling type fight. He's one of the smartest, slickest fighters of all time.
How many conversations did you have with Toney about fighting Ruiz?
I didn't have none. Like I said, back when I fought him in '94, I would have told him then to go to the heavyweight division. I kept making mention of it in articles, hoping that he'd read it, so that people would know that he's a good fighter and he'd be a very good candidate for this division.
No hitting behind the head.
Steve Smoger warns John Ruiz for hitting behind the head. Ruiz was also doing a pretty good job of holding Toney's right arm while he pounded him over the top with the right hand.
Yeah, but I told you he was too relaxed out there. James is going to consistently hit him with that right hand until it probably takes him down.
They trade jabs.
Hey, don't punch,
Toney
don't
steps
punch,
forward,
James.
and John drapes
Step
his
out.
left arm
Very
behind his
good.
neck. James showing his hand speed, and there's an abrasion on the middle of Ruiz's nose already.
From that straight right hand.
Push off, good.
He has John a little confused now. John doesn't know what to do because this is not John's fight. John's not used to fighting outside like this. John's fight is inside, clinching, holding and punching. Right now he doesn't know what to do.
Hands up, excellent, excellent.
James is able to land his right hand with regularity, just bringing it straight over the top. Now there are some hard body shots by Ruiz. He lands a left hand upstairs. Toney counters perfectly with a straight right hand, then backs up against the ropes.
Pull your hand out, Johnny. Pull your hand out.
I think Ruiz might have gotten Toney's attention with those 2 body
Very
shots.
good.
He did, but James ain't worried about that. That's what James does. He knows he has to give up something because he's a heavy-footed fighter, so he doesn't mind giving up the body shots.
Toney reaching with the right hand. Ruiz inside with a little right and left.
Don't punch. Very good, very good. Step, step, 10 seconds.
Biggest moment in this round, a warning to John Ruiz for hitting behind the head.
One second. All right. Good job. All right, now don't be looking for that right hand over top every time for me, okay? We'll mix it up. All right?
Here, jab right hand. Start coming back. Boom. Come back with that left hook.
He's trying to load up with that right hand.
He's trying to overload with the right hand. Start shooting the jab down on him.
Here you see Toney, Ruiz laying the best 3 body shots of the fight against James Toney. Now watch how effective. You hit the steam on the punches. Very strong punches to the body by Ruiz, which is good body work.
Ready.
So far, this isn't quite the jab and grab Greco-Roman koala bear holding python strangling Ruiz where you used to seeing. To his credit, he's trying to fight a more intelligent fight against a smaller opponent.
Is he trying to be more crowd-pleasing?
No, I just think he sees a smaller guy in front of him, and he knows that Toney is very good at close quarters, and so he's trying to stay outside. But one of the interesting things is when he crouches, Roy, he's almost the same size as Toney.
Yeah, but one thing is, while he's outside, he's up so straight, and he can't let James keep hitting him with that straight right hand that James just hit him with, or he won't last long.
Well, there's a perception emerging over the course of the past couple of fights that Ruiz, who's never been regarded as a big puncher, is an underrated puncher, and actually won his fights with Galata and Rahman partially because he intimidated them from time to time with the right hand. Does he have some pop?
Yeah, he has a lot of pop, and a lot of guys don't really respect him for his punching power, but he is a beautiful puncher. You don't see many fighters that can knock Evander Holyfield down with one shot.
And he did.
That sums it all up right there.
Step out, step out. Very good, very good.
That was at a moment when Holyfield probably had a little more physical wherewithal than when James Toney beat him up a year and a half ago.
How many knockdowns has he had since then?
They're trading shots here in round 3 of what is becoming a better than expected fight, and John Ruiz is landing with considerable frequency in this round.
And he better be very careful right here, because that's what Toney can hurt him with.
Toney tries to get back with a big right hand. Ruiz partially blocked it with the left.
Don't punch, don't punch. Step, step, step. Step, step, step. Very good. Hands up, hands up.
Toney not answering that fusillade from Ruiz.
He will. He's playing possum as usual.
Now Toney comes for the late round rally. Ruiz clocks him with a little left hook inside.
Don't punch. Step, step. Very good, very good.
Smile on Toney's face as he steps away. Hard right hand counter by James Toney after Ruiz tried his own wheeling roundhouse right.
And James gonna play possum with him from time to time to try to make him relax so he can hopefully catch him slipping, as we said, and knock him out.
James Toney freely predicts that he'll knock Ruiz out.
Well, he's landed some very solid punches, and Ruiz has walked right through them.
Mark your calendars, May 5 on HBO Latino on this month's Boxeo de Oro. It's Danny Perez against David Lopez. May 13th, Bob Costas returns with a new sports magazine show featuring big names and topical subjects. On the first episode, Bob talks sports with Billy Crystal on the set of Billy's hit Broadway show. May 14 on HBO pay-per-view, it's Felix Trinidad against Winky Wright. Trinidad destroyed Mayorga last time out, but it could be totally different against the former undisputed 154-pound champion, Wright. 1 week later, live on HBO. The heavyweight picture develops further as Lehman Brewster takes on Andrew Galata.
That's all he's trying to do, John. He's getting lucky. Trying to counterpunch.
Trying to load up. That's all.
He's
walking into punches, champ. He's walking into punches.
James Toney was the fighter of the year in 1991, and then 12 years later in 2003.
CompuBox numbers in round 3, Ruiz 27 out of 62 punches thrown. That's twice as many as Toney, who threw 31, landed 10. Harold, how do you have it through 3?
Okay, Jim. 29-28, 2 rounds to 1, John Ruiz. Jim, in the first round, I thought James Toney, just got off a little bit slow. He sort of felt that, Ruiz. In the second round, James Toney just walked him down and whacked him with beautiful right hands to win it on clean punching. But in the third round, John Ruiz all of a sudden got aggressive and won that round. So 2-1, Ruiz.
Hard right hand over the top by Toney. Ruiz grabs and holds on.
And he's going to hit him with that right hand all night as long as Ruiz is trying to fight this outside fight that he's trying to fight.
John Ruiz is a guy who habitually averages about 40 punches a round. He just threw 62 punches in that last round. Might he be letting his hands go too freely, Roy?
No, it's not that he's letting his hand go too freely. He's usually fighting a more crossed over style, looking to grab and maul more. And because he's not in that right now, he's getting caught with his right hand consistently, like I said from round one. He's not going to get out the way of the right hand as long as he's straight up like this.
Yeah, when you're holding and clinching 15 times around, you can't throw a lot of punches. He's been holding in this fight around 5 or 6 times around.
And that's a good point, Larry.
Well, if he could win fighting this way, maybe his popularity would go up a little. People want to see guys who throw punches.
But he getting caught with too many right hands like this because he's not used to fighting this straight up in the air. This is not what he's accustomed to. This is not who he started out dancing with. This is not who he brought to the dance.
So John Ruiz seemingly taking a gamble, fighting a style that maybe favors James Toney, and Toney looks at his corner for approval after the big counter right hand, and Ruiz steps in and pops him with a little left. Toney's trainer, Freddie Roach, has been with some of the most outrageous characters in the sport, including Mike Tyson. So he can deal with James.
Had James followed that hook with the right hand just then, the fight may have been over with.
Ruiz popping the stiff jab into Toney's face, hammering Toney to the ribcage with a body punch. Toney shaking his head.
And that
can't hurt me.
And that was a good body shot, though. Now John is moving his head a little lower like he usually does. That's the fight John has to fight. He can't stay there with his head straight up in the air or he's going to get knocked out.
Toney sticking his jab underneath Ruiz's chin as Ruiz begins to rotate his shoulders and move his head and still takes the right hand over the top from Toney. And Ruiz lands a left and a right as the round comes to a close, and Toney theatrically backs into a neutral corner as if to say, oh, you hit me big.
Nice job. Okay. Nice round, James. Thank you. Combinations. I like that uppercut now. Let's start.
More. Come on, champ. Vamos, campeón.
Here you see James throwing the jab and following with the overhand right because Ruiz is so straight up in the air. There's nothing he can do to get out the way of that punch. Once again, you see him counter the right hand, this time with his own straight right, which is one of James' best punches of his arsenal. He and Holyfield do that better than any fighter I think I've ever seen before.
Combi box numbers through round 4. Ruiz is averaging 45 punches thrown per round, landing 15. He's the busier fighter. Toney 11 out of 33, the slightly more accurate fighter. And now Harold Letterman has it evened up on his scorecard as the fighters on Letterman's card have split the first 4 rounds.
On my card as well.
Very good, very good.
Still, Ruiz throwing more punches, more active. JT stepping in and picking his spots. Good hard right hand to the body by Toney there.
Don't punch, don't punch.
I think Toney will bring his attack more downstairs as we go along.
Yeah, because Ruiz seems to be the one who's wearing a little bit. This is what James wants. I told you from the get-go, James is a late round fighter, not an early round fighter.
Many of us, myself included, expected him to fade in his cruiserweight title fight with Vasily Jirov 2.5 years ago. But fade was anything but what Toney did as he cranked it up in the late rounds, turned the pressure on from rounds 8 through 12, and won the fight.
One of the reasons that he fools people is that he has a remarkable ability to relax in the ring. A lot of athletes and fighters in particular get so intense that they get tense and they use up their conditioning. You can run 1,000 miles and spar 1,000 rounds and chop 1,000 trees down, but if you get tense, you use it all up, and James doesn't.
Never does he get tense, and that's why he is so good for this division, because he's one of the guys who can last. When those guys start to tire, he's just getting started.
Well, the paradigm for that, of course, George Foreman in his second career. How did Foreman win a heavyweight championship at age 45? He had mastered the art of conserving his energy.
He hurt Ruiz bad with that hook just then.
He did indeed. John Ruiz was wobbled by the left hook.
And he's still straight up in the air. I don't understand it. That's the dumbest thing he could do. He's begging to get knocked out like this.
It appears that John Ruiz simply takes it as a given that James Toney, a middleweight or a super middleweight, can't knock him out.
Well, he's going to find out different if he keep getting caught with these punches.
Well, I'm wondering. You know, I think that it's going to have to be a war of attrition on both sides because neither one seems to have done any serious damage with clean punches to the other.
Well, James hurt Ruiz with that left hook. I ain't seen Ruiz really hurt James yet.
No, I agree with you. He's landed some of the bigger, cleaner shots. And that was the first good, clean left hook.
Body shot by Ruiz. Perfect right-hand counter by James Toney.
And if I was Ruiz, I'd take that counter.
Ruiz still throwing 2 for every 1 that Toney throws, but James putting it where he wants him more often than not.
Okay. James, that was a beautiful hook. Okay, he's keeping his hands. He's just trying to protect against that right hand. Okay, you better change up.
You're letting him get that fucking right hand off all the time. Come on, baby. Come on, take a deep breath. Come on, relax. Need some Vaseline. I got it. You hear me? Come on. Come on, Tony. Nice and relaxed. You're gonna push this guy now. Come on, man. Give him a little walk.
I know people who love boxing so much they walked out of the Ruiz-Galata fight because of the 16 clinches around. And so the expectations tonight were very low, and this shows the value of low expectations. This is a better fight than most of us anticipated.
So far, I myself am stunned to see the number of punches they're throwing and landing in this particular style matchup. I'm not surprised to see the punches that Toney's throwing and landing. I'm just amazed that Ruiz is letting his hands go as freely as he is and landing combinations the way he is, and still, as Roy points out, not hurting James Toney.
I think that seeing an ex-middleweight in front of him has emboldened Ruiz.
I think he's a little too bold, though.
Even his own manager and greatest supporter, Stoney, told us that he felt that Ruiz had been fighting too much in a safe zone recently.
We have an online question from a viewer at hbo.com/boxing, Roy Jones. The question is, why does referee Steve Smoger repeatedly say very good after breaking the fighters up? My answer would be he likes to say very good. Is there any more to it than that?
Well, no, he's saying very good because Ruiz is not holding and hitting. Ruiz is not trying to clinch. It's not an ugly fight like it normally would be with Ruiz, so that's why he's telling him good job. He wants to encourage Ruiz to keep fighting a clean, good fight. But what's going to happen if Ruiz is not careful is that James going to step back and touch him one of these times on the clinch, because he will do that.
I think that's exactly right, Roy. The Smoker's doing a good job staying out of the way.
No punch, step, step. Step, 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 step. Very good.
Well, so far it's been the most aesthetically pleasing John Ruiz fight we've ever covered, and for that I think you have to give some credit to Smoker.
Well, it's yes, and to Ruiz, although you know it's all relative.
Well, I'm gonna give a little bit of credit to you, Jim, because you sat down and told him what people didn't like about him.
Well, the fact is, John Ruiz, either of his own volition or on the advice of his people, called both Larry and me in Las Vegas a month ago and asked if he could sit down and talk with both of us, and I was able to make it. Larry was scheduled, and basically his question was, how could I be more entertaining? And it was a long discussion. There was a lot that went into it. It's not an easy question to answer. At the end of the day, I was more or less reduced to saying, you're winning your fights. Maybe you should be satisfied with that.
And he should.
Don't punch, don't punch.
Well, he was a living proof that winning isn't everything, because if you look out here, it's a nice crowd, and a few thousand of them even paid for their tickets.
Keep it up, Tony. You got to keep your hands up. He's just trying to get lucky. Just trying to get lucky. Keep that jab in his face.
Halfway home, 7 coming.
Thank you. Tony, keep the jab in his face. Put the jab in his face. They're going to try to steal it, baby. You got to keep the jab in his face. Boom, boom, bang. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Come on, come on. Come on.
You walk him down with that jab, when you make the openings, the combinations will come right behind it, okay? The jab's going to make the combinations come, okay, son? All right, deep breath. You just need to let your hands go a little bit more, okay? Let your hands go a little bit more.
Second time.
CombiBox numbers in round 6. Ruiz 15 out of 52. Toney 12 out of 29. And here's the first knockdown of the fight as James Toney shocks John Ruiz.
7. Ruiz is claiming that Toney stepped on his foot.
I thought he stepped on his foot too, but you know, that's how the game goes. It was contact when it happened, so that is considered a knockdown.
He lulled him to sleep by coming out lethargically from the corner at the start of several rounds. This time he jumped out of there and knocked Ruiz on his butt. So that's a scoring advantage, or potentially a scoring advantage, depending on what happens in the rest of the round.
Let him out, Johnny. Let him out. Attaboy. Thank you.
Ruiz does not look hurt.
Maybe his pride a little.
There are red welts around the left side of Ruiz's body.
From right hands to the body by Toney.
Break down here, break. Step out, step out. Very good, very good.
Minute 50
Hands
left
up.
in a round in which James Toney scored a knockdown of John Ruiz in the first 10 seconds.
Let him out, Johnny. Let him out. Don't punch. Don't punch.
Now, how could that knockdown and the point that goes with it, Roy, change the fight psychologically?
Well, it gives Toney an edge now. He thinks he truly can knock Ruiz down. I think he can hurt Ruiz again. And it doesn't do good, much for Ruiz's confidence. However, Ruiz has been in such ugly fights that I don't think it won't bother him too much because he's used to things like this.
John Ruiz popping his jab, continues to throw considerably more punches than in most of his big fights.
Very good. Push off, guys. Your hands are free.
This time, Ruiz able to protect himself from that right hand. But still, standing up straighter and taller than in most of his previous fights. Perhaps with an urge to fight a big man's fight against what he thinks of as a smaller opponent.
Yeah, I think he picked the wrong fight to change his fight plan, though, you know?
Also, I think there was the concern that Toney is such a good inside fighter rather than an inside wrestler that it was in his best interest not to be at close quarters all night.
Yeah, but see, that's what Toney hurt him at outside there.
Hard right hand by Toney there. Ruiz trying to tell Smoker that he's being held behind the head. Smoker did nothing.
He said Toney hit him behind the head, but he got it back right there, so.
Another solid right hand by Toney. It's been a big round for James. He started it out with the knockdown, and Ruiz was not able to reverse the tide. It's been a very big round for the challenger.
Proving that a beard does not cushion the impact of a punch.
But you got to keep your hands up with this kid. Give me some water.
In other words, a beard doesn't necessarily make your beard better.
You hear me? You got to keep your hands up with this kid.
Échale atrás, Alex.
You gotta work. Come on, Johnny, you gotta work. What? What?
Here you see the knockdown. You see Toney throw 1-2 that landed high on the head. And he came out with a hook, but Ruiz fell right there. You could tell it was contact from the footwork because the legs didn't buckle off the right hand lead. And here you see the foot, whereas Toney's, let me see, his left foot steps on Ruiz's right, his left foot steps on Ruiz's right foot, and that's when Ruiz falls.
So technically, it shouldn't have been called a knockdown.
No, it wasn't a knockdown.
But it's a knockdown on the scorecard.
And that's good for James Toney.
So ruled.
And that's good for James Toney. And the other thing is that Ruiz seems to be fading a little now, but James seems to be getting better now. And James is, like I said, a late round fighter. So,
well, we're into the 8th round. John Ruiz has gotten off of the canvas to win before. In his last fight, he was knocked down twice in the 2nd round by Andrew Galata, came back to win 8 of the last 10 rounds on 2 judges' scorecards to come from behind and overhaul Galata. But he was fighting the style that was most familiar to him that night, and tonight he is not.
Yep, and this style he's fighting tonight, he's probably going to get knocked down again.
Now that was a slip. Now that was a slip. No knockdown.
Blood starting to trickle from Ruiz's nose.
Well, Roy Jones has told you all night, James Toney's a late round fighter.
Push off, Johnny.
We're into the 2nd half of the fight, and Toney has definitely stepped it up.
This is his time to shine.
And now Ruiz, who threw punches so fluidly in rounds 4, 5, and 6, is back to throwing 1 punch at a time.
Yeah, he's back to the old Ruiz, throwing maybe 11, 12, 17 punches around. And he's not going to win a fight like this, not against a former middleweight.
Oh, what a huge right hand by Toney there. But John Ruiz takes it well, although the blood is trickling from his nose.
I told you, as long as he stands straight up like that, he's going to get hit all night with that right hand. And now he's so befuddled he don't know what to do because he's out of his own realm.
This is a simple matter of Toney's hand speed being too fast.
Just that simple. I said it all night long. There's no way he can get away from Toney with his hands this low and staying straight up in the air. He's going to eat that right hand all night.
I'm starting to think that every middleweight should come up and fight as a heavyweight.
I'm here. Step around,
Maybe Felix Trinidad would be unbeatable in this division.
You know,
no, that's not the case.
As Toney has pointed out, he was a 200-pound quarterback in high school, melted down to become a middleweight, and virtually every time out thereafter was fighting was a light heavyweight or a cruiserweight. The week of a fight is a middleweight. He had to melt himself down to make weight.
Toney's camp has loved to claim for years that he had to lose 38 pounds in 4 weeks to fight Roy Jones at 168 back on November 18, 1994. Wasn't long after that he drifted into oblivion.
Even then, I would have brought him back right in this division and made a champion out of him right then.
Would have been fascinating to see him fight Lennox Lewis.
Yep.
There is blood coming
from Toney's
mouth now.
Which may or may not bother James. He's old school.
No.
Good right hand after the bell by James Toney.
Watch that go. Those elbows in back of the head. Come on.
I know.
Gasoline. Deep breath. Okay. Good round. Now here, James, you can make this easy. Okay? He's stumbling forward, okay? His legs are shot. He can't fight going backwards. All you gotta do is go with the jab, double it up, and put the right hand hook behind it, all right? No single punching, all right? I'm telling you, dude.
Here you see they come together in an exchange, but at the end of the exchange, they get tangled up like right there, and he slipped. And I don't think James even threw him down. I think their feet got tangled up again and he fell. Wasn't a knockdown.
Does Ruiz have iffy balance, and does that have something to do with all the clinches he's been involved in?
Yep, he does have iffy balance. When he punches, he puts all his weight forward, and if you're not there, he's going to just about fall. But usually he's used to falling on top of his opponent.
Exactly.
And that's why he does it.
One right hand and land on the opponent.
Or 2 jabs and land on the opponent. Watch.
Not nearly as much of that tonight. Now, a couple of rounds ago,
Very good.
we were rhapsodizing about what a terrific job. Very good, very good. Steve Smoger has done as referee. Since that time, Toney has gotten away with putting his foot on John Ruiz's foot, helping to accentuate a knockdown. And he got away with hitting John Ruiz with a really good left hand after the bell at the end of the last round.
And I told you that would start sooner or later because you still have to protect yourself at all times. And Ruiz is trying to be so clean that he's forgetting to protect himself. So I knew that was going to happen sooner or later.
Toney, of course, old school, old pro, trained in the toughest of gyms, including Kronk. He'll tell you flat out, I'll do anything to win the fight.
And he's supposed to. That's why they used to call him a throwback fighter, because he'll go by any means necessary to win a fight. And he's supposed to do that.
He's also called a throwback fighter because of his subtle defensive skills, right, Roy? His ability to roll away from a punch.
The mongoose style. He's the best at it.
Hard body punch by Ruiz.
That's what Ruiz should have been doing all night. He better not relax right here. He's going to get knocked out relaxing. James is not the fight he can relax on right there.
If Ruiz had gone to the body more earlier, maybe he would have taken more of the sting out of Toney's punches.
Excellent.
Maybe he'd have stayed up even with Toney's foot on his foot.
And see, Ruiz is used to lulling heavyweights to sleep right here like this, but this don't work on a former middleweight.
Because
this guy used to stand alert at all times. When you're a middleweight, you got to deal with quicker hands and much more speed, so you can't go to sleep. So if a guy's trying to lull you to sleep, you're actually lulling him to sleep. And that's what's happened to Ruiz all night. He's used to lulling those slower-handed guys to sleep and sneaking his right hand in. But a former middleweight ain't gonna go for that old trick. And it's very discouraging to Ruiz that every time he sticks out a big punch, he gets caught back. Make him have flashbacks.
So Toney is grinning and enjoying himself in there as round 9 comes down the stretch.
Can Ruiz change his tactic now for the last 3 or 4 rounds, Roy?
Well, if he uses his jab, he could, but I don't think he's going to use his jab that much because he's trying to fight this outside fight.
Should he just go after James and make it a brawl?
No, that wouldn't be smart because he's going to get caught with the bigger punches. And right now, I think James's punches are stronger than his.
Well, that eliminates 2 options. So what's left?
Use the jab, stay outside, pop and hold like he used to do.
Go back to being John Ruiz.
Be John Ruiz.
Friday, May 13, Bob Costas returns with a new magazine show featuring the biggest names and topics in sports. On the first episode, Bob talks sports with Billy Crystal on the set of Billy's hit Broadway show. Friday, May 13th.
Taking that right hand off on you. Come on, baby. Come on, nice work, nice work.
3 rounds. Come on, it's a jab for me, bro. It's a jab for me.
Tony, you're giving him time
Come on,
to
these
set
are
up.
the
Don't give him
championship
time
rounds.
to set up. Every time, bang, 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 touch him, bang
Then
him.
go to
Let's go with the double jab. All right, put the hook right hand together, okay, son? All right? Remember, James, combinations, okay? Let your hands go a little bit more. Remember, be first. Don't let this guy come to you. All right? Stronger and stronger, son.
CompuBox numbers, I should say, on power punches through the 9 rounds. Ruiz 50 out of 147. James Toney 86 out of 164. He's landing more than half of his power punches, and that is an extremely successful ratio. Harold, how do you have it through 8?
Okay, Jim.
Through 9, I should say.
86, 84, 5 rounds to 4. James lights out Toney. Jim, in the last 6 rounds, I thought James Toney won 4 of them with the power shots. I mean, John Ruiz is landing punches, but Jim, they're light jabs as compared to what James Toney's landing with that right hand. He's landing the real solid shots, the shots that are doing damage. You can't miss him. The only thing is that he tends to take a round off once in a while. He didn't do much in round 6 rather, and round 9.
I have Toney ahead by 3 points.
Roy, is Toney scoring the fight in his head?
Oh, yeah, always. He's definitely keeping up with what's going on. He knows what's happening here. He's never out of what's happening. He's in tune with what's going on in the fight. Any good pro is going to be in tune with what's happening.
Has he purposely given away a round or 2 to buy a little rest?
To make sure he doesn't tire himself out. He's always going to say something in the bank. You can believe it.
Is there any more confident fighter than James Toney?
Nope, not at all. Even when he's behind, he's confident.
Well, of course, his first big splash was, big right hand by Ruiz, bigger right hand by Toney. Toney's first big splash was an 11th round KO of Michael Nunn to win the middleweight championship in a fight in which Nunn had won the first 10 rounds.
Exactly.
Ruiz seems to understand the position he's in and is trying to do some damage to Toney.
Not punching enough, though.
fighters seem to have slowed here in the 10th round.
I'm here. Step.
It's been a relatively high activity fight for heavyweights.
This the fight Ruiz wants. This the fight he should have been fighting now, but he may have waited too long to start doing the old Ruiz. Good body shot. That was a wonderful body shot by Ruiz.
And here comes Toney out of the mongoose crouch with another huge right hand. Ruiz firing back with the jab. Crowd comes to life again. 10 rounds complete. The championship rounds yet to come.
Maybe the best round of the fight.
Come on, baby, we need these rounds. We need these rounds, Johnny. Johnny's dead tired. Stay outside, boxer, walk in. Stay outside.
In that round, Johnny. You can't let him off the hook.
I'll take back this side, put that hook right hand together for me. All right?
Here you see James Toney counter with the right hand right there. Come over the top with a counter right hand right there. Comes back with the counter right hand right there. All night long he's been coming back with a counter overhand right there. Every time Ruiz comes, step back, counter right hand right there. It's just the same shot this guy's been walking into. I said, when fighting a straight up style, he can't get out of the way of the right hand.
All right?
Yes.
The great counterpunchers are magical to watch. In round 10, John Ruiz unloaded 53 punches, 63 punches, his high output of the fight, but only landed 14 of them. James Toney 17 out of 37, including, again, more than half his power shots. 13 out of 22, and on Harold Letterman's scorecard, Toney stretches his lead.
James,
on
get out
Letterman's
there,
scorecard at the moment, John Ruiz needs to win the last 2 rounds and get a knockdown to earn a draw.
That's all right, enough, guys. Step out. Excellent.
Roy, in the middle of talking to his fighter between rounds, Ruiz's trainer Norman Stone paused and took about a 10-second look across the ring at Freddie Roach and James Toney, apparently to see what they were doing. What did he want to find out?
Don't punch.
Trying to see was James Toney showing any signs of fatigue.
And of course, regardless of whether Toney shows signs of fatigue, Stoney's going to tell Ruiz he's dead exhausted anyway.
Exactly. But Ruiz is dead exhausted with him, so it's not a problem.
Ruiz still trying to land the big right hand that would change the fight. Toney seems to have shown us a long time ago that he can take Ruiz's big right hand.
At 233 pounds, why not?
There's jiggling fat around the rib cage of James Toney, but believe it or not, that jiggling fat helps you to take body punches.
Helps him absorb the punches. Oh, good shot.
Oh, what a big right hand. The hardest one of the fight, and John Ruiz is momentarily wobbly there.
I thought he was trying to play a little possum and encourage Toney to come back at him and he was standing there with the right hand ready to hit back. But it was a big right hand.
He's dead tired now. Toney needs to go to his body and will make it bad for Ruiz.
Toney, for his part, isn't going to overcommit. He's perfectly happy to land the big right hand and step away because he believes he's ahead in the fight.
And he is.
He's landed many more clean, clean hard punches than Ruiz.
Very good. Break, don't punch. Step. Hands up, guys, hands up.
Ruiz's right hand has no steam on it right now.
Don't punch. Step out, Johnny. Step out, James.
Last year, John Ruiz pulled out an 11th round knockout of Press Oquendo. That was a whole different kind of fight, and he had the edge over Oquendo most of the night. This is a different show entirely, and James Toney just landed another solid right hand over the top. Good hard body shot by Ruiz inside. 3 minutes to go in the fight. John Ruiz looks very weary as he goes back to his corner.
All night long, he's been getting caught the same counter overhand right hook, right over the top of his jab. I mean, how many times do you got to get caught with the same punch before you realize this guy's killing you with one punch?
Pretty discouraging.
Last one, challenger. Last one, Freddie.
All right? Now, James, come on. We got to put this guy on his ass one more time to get this fight, okay? All right?
Last round, baby. Give me it all. Keep this kid away from him. Just keep this fucking jab on him. Just keep the jab. Bang, 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 bang. Right hand. Bang, 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 bang. Come on, Johnny. You got to work, baby. Come on.
1, 2, 3. Put the combinations. Back this son of a bitch up, okay? All right? Come on. You're stronger than he is. He's dead. All right? It's the championship of the world, son. Let's go.
Come on.
God bless you both. God bless you both.
This is the most crowd-pleasing fight we've seen John Ruiz in. The irony, of course, is he might lose his title because of it.
Yep.
If he was trying to bring more entertainment value to his game,
no punch.
in an effort to galvanize the public behind him as a heavyweight champion, it was a valiant effort and maybe a brave idea, but ill-advised tactically in this fight.
And it's like you said earlier in the previous fight, you got to dance with who you can with.
Ruiz lands a right hand and Toney backs up.
Excellent. I'm here. Break.
Whether
Excellent.
Tony's playing possum or not, John's got to go at it.
Yeah, Toney playing a possum. You can believe that.
Peek, I'm here. Step. Hands up, guys. Peek, I'm here. Don't punch. Excellent. Step, Johnny. Step, James.
Combinations by Toney, letting his hands go. Ruiz trying to dig underneath to the body. Pulls Toney into the ropes. But after having thrown so many punches earlier in the fight, John Ruiz is now unable to throw as many as he might want to seek damage against James.
Then it ain't helping that Toney's beating his body. And Toney's backing him up now. He doesn't like to be backed up.
Excellent.
Even in his 3 fights against Evander Holyfield, I don't think I ever saw John Ruiz reach this level of exhaustion.
Because Evander Holyfield didn't beat his body this bad.
He is worn out.
Excellent.
A minute to go. You heard Freddie Roach tell his fighter to keep on fighting. James Toney's taken a couple big shots in the 12th, but once again, giving about as good as he's getting.
Don't punch, guys.
And this is the right fight for James. Just be safe, stay close so Ruiz can't knock him out. And he's smart.
Which other top heavyweights can Toney beat?
He can beat the majority of the top heavyweights because of his style. Only person I think will give him a hard time would be a fighter like Hasim Rahman.
Come on, John.
Because of his athletic quality.
And maybe Chris Byrd.
So you're saying that Toney would beat the 6'7", 250-pound Vitaly Klitschko?
Most definitely.
I don't believe that, Roy.
They trade right hands. 12 seconds to go. Knows the fight's going to go the distance. And they rise in appreciation. Or at least some of them do.
Pretty good fight. Certainly a whole lot better than we expected. I thought James Toney clearly won the fight.
If the fight is closely scored, and certainly we've seen everything. There's Harold Letterman's final card, which is not closely scored. Toney winning the last 3 rounds to wind up at 116-111. But if the fight is closely scored, then that one knockdown, which took place at the very beginning of the 7th round, could turn out to be a critical point. So we're going to take one more look now and show you how Ruiz wound up on the canvas. Remember, the opening bell for the round, Toney steps across and lands a combination. And watch, as Roy Jones pointed out, Toney's left foot will wind up on top of John Ruiz's right foot as he throws the left hook that puts Ruiz onto the canvas. A little push with the right hand just to seal the deal. Ruiz not actually going all the way down, but his left glove was on the canvas. Smoger issued the count, and that is one of the major obstacles Ruiz faces now in his hope that somehow he stayed in the fight on the scorecards. James Toney says that being a heavyweight champion was a lifetime dream of his. It certainly appears as though he may have annexed a heavyweight title. Don Ackerman, judge from the United States, scored Hopkins De La Hoya for Hopkins at the moment at which Hopkins was knocking De La Hoya out. Yi Jutra of Canada has had some fascinating scoring experiences in the last couple of years. Had Ruiz ahead of Oquendo at the moment at which Ruiz knocked Oquendo out in the 11th. Jutra is the guy who scored Juan Manuel Marquez versus Manny Pacquiao, 115-110 for Marquez, after Marquez had been knocked down 3 times in the first round and then controlled the fight the rest of the way with his counterpunching. Tom Schreck, young judge from here in the United States, had Ruiz ahead of Andrew Galata, 114-111, and that was the fight, of course, in which Galata scored 2 knockdowns of Ruiz in the second round. Now Michael Buffer stands by with the results of this one.
Madison Square Garden, we go to the scorecards. Don Ackerman and Guy Jutras scores the bout 116-111. Tom Schreck has it 115-112. All to the winner by unanimous decision. And new WBA heavyweight champion of the world, James Lights Out Toney.
Well, excellent scoring by our lights. Can't argue with those 3 judges.
Can't argue at all.
And a disappointed John Ruiz loses his title belt. This marks the 2nd time now that Ruiz has lost a heavyweight title belt. Remains to be seen whether he'll get another opportunity to go back into the mix and try to regain one. Meanwhile, James Toney now figures as one of the 4 fighters, along with Chris Byrd, Layman Brewster, and Vitaly Klitschko, to control a heavyweight title belt and therefore a political foothold in the race to become the top dog in the division. John Ruiz holds the ignominious distinction now of having twice lost heavyweight title fights to former middleweights. And remember, only 3 former middleweights have ever won heavyweight title belts. One of them was Bob Fitzsimmons back in 1897. Who was the other one besides James Toney? A fellow named Roy Jones. Ruiz may want to stay out of the middleweight division in the future. Toney, if he were in California, it'd be illegal for him to light that cigar. Not sure about here.
Toney's very happy. He's done a good job resurrecting his career. I'm very happy for him to see him be able to come back from so much downtime and come back and win the heavyweight title.
Here are the CompuBox numbers. You can see that John Ruiz landed 56 fewer punches than Toney, while throwing 128 more of them. So Ruiz's connect percentage down to 25%, and Toney almost half his punches landed, including well more than half of his power punches. That connect percentage for James went up throughout the fight. He winds up more than doubling Ruiz in the power punch category. And of course, Roy Jones showed you how the counter right hand was like a laser shot all night long.
Told you in round 1 it would be, because I saw how straight up Ruiz was. He just played right into the hands of Toney.
Larry Merchant stands by with the winner.
Thank you very much, Jim. Congratulations, James. Did you ever think you would see this day?
Yeah, I knew I would if I put my mind to it. You know, I work hard, but unfortunately I only had 5 weeks for this fight. Not even 5 weeks, 4.5 to be exact. If I had my proper time 11 weeks, I probably would have knocked him out.
In all those years in which your career seemed to be careening from nowhere to nowhere.
From nowhere to nowhere to somewhere, and back on top of the world at the WBA, and soon to be undisputed heavyweight champ of the world.
James, were you surprised?
Yeah, baby.
Were you
told y'all, all you haters out there, bow down.
James, were you surprised at the fight he fought, trying to fight you from outside?
Yeah, no, I expected anything from him, which is, you know, John, an average fighter. But, you know, he did what he could to try to keep me off him. It wasn't enough. I told you, whatever we do wasn't going to be enough. Even with the short notice training I had, I've had a lot of problems in camp, but, you know, I overcame them.
Any signs of the...
Teddy Atlas, ESPN, y'all some losers. I told y'all
James,
nobody beat me in that weight division.
And
Fox, #1, baby. Best damn sports show, Lights Out Toney. On HBO, Homeboys Only. What?
James, you're not very happy, are you?
I'm very happy, man. Larry Merchant, you're better than my man over there at Showtime. You know what I'm talking about. What's happening?
James, did he play into you by not fighting his normal fight of jab and grab?
Well, I was hoping he would do that because, you know, if he did that, I would be able to just step back a little bit and throw the uppercut, left hook, give him a back hip in case of the whiplash. But, you know, he was trying to stay outside with me and try to keep me off him, but it wasn't enough. He wasn't in a good shape, and I wasn't in tip-top shape, but, you know, I had what it took. I dug down on him.
Were you able to overcome the lack of training time and the injuries?
Yeah.
Did any of that bother you during the fight at all?
No. Everything, all the injuries were out of my mind when I fight. Only time I had concern about my injuries was during training. But, you know, I buckled down and we just worked through it.
If you had your druthers, who would be the next fighter for you?
Well, I'm going to leave it to you, Larry Merchant, because you're the man at HBO, so I want you to pick the guy.
Well,
I want
Klitschko. You want to fight Chris? Would you like to fight Chris Byrd in a Michigan showdown?
We'll do that. We'll do that in Detroit. We'll do it in Ann Arbor, Michigan Stadium. I'll do it. I fight anybody, anywhere, anytime. I don't duck nobody. Now, you know I don't never duck nobody, man. I like to fight.
You said before the fight that you wanted to do boxing a favor by subtracting John Ruiz and adding you. What did you mean by that?
I just wanted to beat him. Get rid of him. You guys want to see his double boxing ass again. You know, I think after a boxing justice, we won't see John Ruiz no more. I'm pretty sure Don King's going to throw him in the trash can where he belongs. I don't know what Don got him in the first place. But, you know, he did. I tip my hat off to him. He gave me an opportunity. I did what I had to do.
We'll be seeing it down the road.
I hope so, Larry. Thank you.
Thanks, Larry. Thank you, Jim.
All right, terrific performance by James Toney. He did what he said he would do. He beat John Ruiz to the punch. He showed his greater hand speed. He landed his right hand more or less at will, and he won the fight. Roy Jones, you say you think he would beat most of the top heavyweights. There are still some people who are going to say, okay, he's not a legitimate heavyweight. He's a middleweight or a super middleweight or even a cruiserweight fighting in the heavyweight division. He showed here tonight he's got a very good chin. Who could knock him out?
Well, there are fighters that anybody can get knocked out to get called wrong. However, the Klitschko guys aren't the answer for James Toney. As you see, Chris Byrd had his way with them. Chris Byrd was a small heavyweight. James Toney is a bigger heavyweight than Chris Byrd. And to me, he has better hand speed than Chris Byrd. Now, Chris throws far more punches, which is why I think he and Chris Byrd would be a good fight, because it will be a classical boxer against a classical puncher. However, it'll take people like Rockman to give James Toney a problem. These other fighters, they won't give him a problem.
Roy, I don't mean to argue with you, but Vladimir Klitschko dominated Chris Byrd and knocked him down 3 times.
That's Chris Byrd.
Yeah, I thought you were saying that that the Klitschkos couldn't handle Chris Byrd. You're saying the Klitschkos can't handle Toney.
No, they can't handle Toney. I'm talking about. I'm not talking about Chris Byrd. I said Toney.
Okay.
I said he did his thing against the first Klitschko guy.
Right.
They went home and studied him, and of course they come back and know how to deal with the little guy. So the big brother the little brother came back and made up for what the big brother missed. But as we see now, clearly the big brother definitely has to be the best of the two.
Right.
And Chris Byrd beat him, right?
If you're James and you want to try to unify this title, you want to go after Byrd next? You want to fight Vitaly Klitschko? Everybody wants Vitaly, right?
If you want to electrify the division, you go fight Klitschko.
All right. Larry's going to come back in just a minute to give us his final comments on what he saw here. And he's going to Ruiz's locker room right now to seek an interview with the fallen former title holder. But in the meantime, we're going to look ahead to a huge HBO pay-per-view event in Roy's former division, the 160-pound weight class, newly re-glamorized in the last couple of years. 154-pound world champion Winky Wright moves up on May 14 to fight Felix Trinidad. Let's take a look.